Hello, my name is Blake, the CEO of a technology company. Today, I want to share with you a bit of my life experience. This story took place a few years ago when my career was in full swing, with the enviable life of a successful man. Mansions, cars, beauty, and wisdom of his wife. I thought I was the king of the world, can control everything. However, reality slapped me in the face. It was a beautiful spring day when my wife, Kara, and I were the center of attention at a charity dinner. Kara held my arm, smiled gracefully, and showed our love for each other to the guests. Countless people looked at us with envy, calling us a model couple and golden couple. But I know it's all an illusion. At the dinner, a man named Victor caught my attention. He and Kara seemed to know each other very well, talking and laughing with an uncanny closeness in their manner. He and Kara seemed to know each other very well, talking and laughing. And there was a kind of unspeakable closeness in their demeanor, and Kara was treating him with an attentiveness that I had never seen before. My instincts told me that something was wrong between them. Once trust is lost in a marriage, all that's left is doubt. When I got home, I pretended to be busy to observe Kara's reaction. Surprisingly, she, who was usually so caring to me, seemed a bit distracted and checked her cell phone frequently. Who was she talking to? Why did she hide it from me? For several days, Kara was behaving strangely, frequenting beauty parlors and gyms, and devoting more effort to her appearance than ever before. Although as a husband I should have been proud of my wife's beauty, a sense of foreboding gripped my heart. Finally, an anonymous email brought my fears to the surface. The email reads, "Sir, your wife is not as faithful as you think. I have evidence that she is cheating with a man. If you want to know the truth, please hire a private detective." There was a big bang in my head. I didn't want to believe it, but I had to. I knew that I had to do something. Keeping the status quo was no longer an option, and I needed the truth, even if it tore my life to shreds. So I made a decision to hire a private detective to investigate his wife's secrets. After deciding to hire a private investigator, I started searching for relevant information on the internet. What I didn't expect was that my chief technology officer, Elise, took the initiative to reach out to me, stating that she had a reliable resource for private investigators. Elise is a veteran employee who has been with me since the early days of the company and has always been dedicated and trustworthy. She told me that a close friend of hers is a private investigator who has helped many celebrities deal with difficult issues and is very professional and discreet. With Elise's help, I soon met the private investigator, who, to my surprise, was a young and beautiful woman named Natalie. To my surprise, the other party is a young and beautiful woman named Natalie. She looks only the early 30s, a pair of sharp eyes through the wisdom, speech, and demeanor full of confidence. I told Natalie my predicament, including Kara's and Victor's behavior at the dinner party and the anonymous emails I'd received. And Natalie reassured me that she'd seen plenty of men who suspected their wives of cheating on them, not to mention the fact that I had solid reasons for my suspicions. She promised that I would look into the matter and try to find the truth as soon as possible. For the next week, I was on fire inside. I could hardly concentrate on my work, and images of Kara cheating on me kept popping into my head. I became irritable and lost patience with my subordinates and clients. Everyone in the company sensed that I was out of sorts, unaware that I was suffering from a marital crisis. Just as I was about to break down, Natalie finally brought in the results of the investigation. When she laid out the stack of photos in front of me, I felt like the sky was falling. The photo shows my wife, Kara, and the man, Victor, in a posh restaurant, looking at each other intimately. From their body language, it was clear that this was no ordinary friendship, but a real private meeting. With shaking hands, I looked through the heartbreaking photos of Kara dating other men behind my back and looking so involved and enamored that she didn't even look like a married woman. Anger, humiliation, sadness, all kinds of emotions surged in my chest, almost drowning me. It took me a great deal of restraint to keep from roaring out of control. Is this the truth I want? I'd rather never know. But now, I had to face the reality. My peace of mind had been shattered, and how was I going to clean up the mess? Natalie told me that in addition to the photos, she had hacked into Kara's computer and found some suspicious email correspondence. I knew it might be an invasion of Kara's privacy, but I had no choice. I had to get to the bottom of it. So I made a tough decision to check my wife's computer to see what she was hiding from me. I thought I was prepared, but when I actually saw the contents of those emails, I felt dizzy. Kara and Victor's email correspondence reveals a months-long underground affair. In their emails, they expressed their love and admiration for each other and made no secret of the time and place of their rendezvous. When Kara mentioned me, she sounded as if she was bound by her marriage and longed for relief. Dear Victor, I've had enough of this hypocrisy. Blake only cares about his career and treats me like an accessory. I'm only truly happy when I'm with you. I can't wait to see you and be in your arms. When I read this, I could no longer control the anger in my heart and smashed my fist on the computer screen. Over the years, I have paid everything for this family in order to let his wife live a better life and work hard. But in the end, in exchange for such a wife's betrayal, our marriage vows, in her eyes, is so worthless? I sat down on a chair, feeling that my blood had instantly cooled. My marriage, my family, had become a fraud. At that moment, I accidentally flipped to a photo. The background of the photo caught my attention. It was our company's core R&D center. Although it is only a corner, but that iconic sculpture, I will not be mistaken. But why was Kara there with Victor? Is it? A terrible thought came into my mind. I forced myself to calm down and think carefully about the connection. As the CEO of the company, I know very well the importance of the core R&D center, which holds our most cutting-edge, most confidential technical information. Once the leakage, the consequences are unimaginable. And I knew very little about Victor's identity. He claimed to be a business consultant at the dinner, but his attraction to Kara seemed to be more than just a love affair. Is he after something else? I had to get to the bottom of this as soon as possible, but I can't do it without spooking them. Taking a deep breath, I dialed Elisa's number. As the company's chief technology officer, she has all the company's technical resources in her hands. I instructed her to secretly strengthen the monitoring of the core R&D center and pay close attention to the entry and exit of suspicious people, especially Victor. At the same time, I also asked her to strengthen the firewall of the server and raise the level of confidentiality of technical information. But I knew that these were only stopgap measures. To solve the problem once and for all, I had to confront Kara directly. So, I made a difficult decision. I asked Kara to come out and talk to me and show her everything I already knew. I want to hear her explanation, and I want her to tell me why she hurt me and lied to me. That day, we met at a quiet cafe. Facing my questioning gaze, Kara was at first speechless and then in tears. She said she had fallen in love with Victor, a feeling she couldn't control. She admitted that she had betrayed her marriage and betrayed my trust. But at the same time, she said that the family had suffocated her and she longed for a new life. I shook my head bitterly. A new life? Does it mean hanging out with a man of unknown origin, selling my dignity and integrity? Finally, I asked her if she had leaked company secrets to Victor, and Kara blinked, saying that she wasn't sure who Victor really was, but swore that she had done nothing to jeopardize the company's interests. In the face of my wife's defense, I have mixed feelings in my heart. Can I still trust her? I told Kara that I would give her some time to think about whether to choose this family or her new life. Until then, I'd move somewhere else to calm down and figure out what I wanted to do in the future. Kara cried and begged me for forgiveness, for a second chance. But I had made up my mind that I wouldn't give in until I found out the truth. Thus, my wife and I separated. I know, to restore the family, there is a long way to go. But I cannot let myself sink down. I must get up, not only to defend their marriage, but also to defend their own career. At that moment, I swore to myself that no matter what the cost, I would get to the bottom of this and never let it go. Separating from my wife was not easy. I moved to an apartment in the center of the city and was left alone with an empty room and a cold bed. What was once a cozy home was now a place of sadness for me. I thought I could get away from it for a while, but I didn't realize that the trouble had just begun. I don't know who leaked the news, but the news of Kara and I's marriage breakup reached the media. For a while, I was surrounded by journalists, and long shots were aimed at my private life. Blake, what's the reason for your separation from your wife? I heard that your wife cheated on you. Is that true? As a business elite, how does your marital crisis affect the company? In the face of the reporter's aggressive questions, I was speechless. I never imagined that I would one day make headlines in the entertainment section. In the newspapers and on the internet, there was a lot of speculation about my marriage, a mixture of truth and falsehood. There were some unkind voices that pointed the finger at my character and abilities, suggesting that my incompetent role as a husband foreshadowed my equally incompetent role as a CEO. My public relations team was busy, trying to eliminate the negative impact by issuing a statement. I, on the other hand, had to be on my toes at company meetings and business events so that I wouldn't be seen in a bad light. But is it so easy to hide the trauma inside? For countless sleepless nights, I tossed and turned, flashing back to my love and marriage with Kara in my mind. Those once sweet moments have now become a mockery. Surprisingly, in this storm of public opinion, the one who stood up for me was my imaginary enemy. At first, I didn't realize that many people in the business world had a grudge against my wife, Kara. In their eyes, Kara often interfered in company affairs and even used my connections for personal gain because she was my wife. Her position in the psychology community has also been questioned as a violation of academic ethics. These people sympathized with me and felt that Kara had betrayed my trust and dedication. They encouraged me to be strong, not to let my difficulties get me down, and not to let others make fun of me. I was grateful for their support, but my heart was full of mixed feelings. As a husband, I should have defended his wife's honor, but now I am like an outsider, listening to outsiders to his wife's judgment. The world is unpredictable. The reality is merciless. I felt the first time the taste of the world's cruelty. At the same time, I was also reflecting on my own failure as a husband. At the peak of my career, did I neglect my wife's feelings and fail to give her enough love? Was it my negligence in marriage that led her to go astray? All kinds of contradictions are intertwined in my heart, which makes me suffer a lot. But I knew that no amount of remorse would help, and I had to face reality with a positive attitude. Since Kara's heart is no longer in this family, I don't have to force myself. Divorce may be a last resort. But before that, I need to find out how many secrets she's hiding. I asked Elise to deploy more people to investigate Victor's background. Although Kara denied leaking the information, I still had a problem in my heart. Victor's identity and background were very suspicious, so I couldn't take it lightly. If the company really suffered losses, I would be the culprit. I knew that there was a tough battle ahead, the divorce proceedings. I had to be fully prepared to protect my reputation and assets while minimizing the negative impact on the company. I consulted an attorney and began collecting evidence in case of emergency. At the same time, I was also thinking about how to rebuild my public image. After all, I am not just a frustrated husband, but also the head of a public company. I have to prove to my investors and partners that I have the willpower and leadership to get through this difficult time and lead the company forward. So I put together a series of public relations programs, including public service activities and media interviews, in an effort to project a positive image of the company. I also arranged an internal sympathy event to apologize to the staff and dispel their doubts. But I knew that all this was only temporary and that the real difficulties lay ahead. In the face of the ensuing worries, I had to be very energetic and find a balance between career and emotional pressure. It was destined to be a long and arduous road, but I had no choice but to go on. I often think of my father's teaching: a man can't live without fighting spirit, but he can't live without self-awareness either. Yes, perhaps life is a practice, forcing us to face ourselves until we grow. So, no matter how rough the road ahead is, I can't give up. For my own sake and for the sake of my children, I must bite the bullet and rise to the occasion. As long as I have breath, I must not bow to fate. Thanks to the efforts of our PR team, the negative impact of Kara and I's marriage has finally been contained to a certain extent. But I knew that this was just the calm before the storm. The real test was yet to come. Yes, I decided to divorce Kara. Deep in my heart, I had been holding on to the hope that Kara would change her mind. But as the investigation went on, I gradually realized that there was an unbridgeable rift between Kara and me. I hired the best matrimonial lawyer in town to prepare for a divorce. The lawyer told me that even without a prenuptial agreement, I could still use the evidence of Kara's infidelity to fight for more benefits. But I didn't want to make things too difficult. After all, She was my wife and the mother of my children. The negotiations, however, did not go well, and Kara's legal team, clearly eyeing my property, made a series of outrageous demands, including exorbitant alimony and a huge division of assets. I was even more shocked when they threatened to use Kara's influence in the psychological community to discredit me. I feel angry and helpless. The breakup of my marriage had already worn me down, and now I had to deal with this kind of blackmail. But I knew I had to bite the bullet and not back down in the face of profit. It was not only my personal dignity that was at stake, but also the future of my business. My team of lawyers and I worked around the clock to gather evidence and prepare for the lawsuit. I went through my financial records over the years and realized that Kara had made some questionable investments in my name without my knowledge. This certainly gave me a lot of leverage. Meanwhile, Elise has also sent me the latest findings. It turns out that the relationship between Kara and Victor is more complicated than I imagined. Victor is a commercial spy. He used Kara to obtain confidential information about the company, short my company's stock in the shopping mall, and profit from it. And Kara was his accomplice. The news came as a bolt from the blue, and I couldn't believe my ears. My wife, the mother of my children, had betrayed her marriage and the company for her own personal gain. What she did was not only a personal injury to me, but also a betrayal of the company. I felt a thunderbolt of anger. At the same time, a sense of righteousness rose in my chest. I swore that Kara and Victor's crimes would be made public and would not be tolerated. I immediately began preparing a new lawsuit against Kara and Victor for wrongdoing on the grounds that the company's interests had been harmed. I also mobilized the company's public relations team to get the word out in our favor in preparation for the reputational battle that would ensue. The tide has turned. The situation has reversed. Kara's team, which had been so aggressive before, obviously didn't expect this. They panicked and began to soften their attitude, offering to settle the matter privately. Well, what's the point of trying to make up for it now? I smiled coldly and rejected their offer. Since you want to play dirty, don't blame me for being rude. I'll use the facts and the law to defend my innocence and rights. My lawyer told me that with the evidence I have now, I can win this case in court. As for Victor, the company has already reported the case to the police, and I believe that it won't take long for him to be brought to justice. At that moment, Kara suddenly asked to meet me. I hesitated, but I agreed. After all, she was the woman I once loved, and I wanted to hear her explanation. The day we met, Kara looked haggard, but my heart was already numb. She cried and apologized, saying it was all Victor's scheme, that he had seduced and used her. Kara said she had never meant to hurt me or the company, but that she was just confused and overwhelmed by emotion. I looked at her coldly and said nothing. If she had this realization, why would she be in this situation? Shouldn't an adult be responsible for her own behavior? Kara begged me to forgive her, to give her a chance to start over. She even offered to bear me a second child if I would drop the charges. I laughed bitterly and shook my head. In order to save your marriage, you want to use an innocent life to blackmail me? Kara, you've changed. I don't recognize you anymore. I told her that I could withdraw the lawsuit against her personally, but that the fact that the company's interests had been jeopardized was irrevocable. As for the child, he shouldn't be a bargaining chip for us. If she really cares about her child, she should do some soul-searching and be a good mother. When we parted, we were silent. We were once a loving couple, but now we didn't even have the decency to say goodbye. I silently thought, between us, in the end, from where the beginning of the error? Where did all those unspoken barriers in our marriage come from? At that moment, I felt for the first time that love also has a shelf life. Once the expiration date has passed, even the best feelings will deteriorate. Maybe my marriage to Kara was doomed from the start. It was just a fluke that we didn't want to face up to. Life is like a play. It all depends on the acting. We are in our respective roles, experiencing the joys and sorrows. It is a pity that when the curtain goes up, we realize how much true love we have missed. I left sadly. A great sadness welled up in my heart. The love of the world, the original, are so fragile. Once loved people, but ultimately to drift away. That day, I wrote in my diary, marriage is like a gamble at the beginning. Everyone thinks they can win, but in the end, we realize that we are all losers. I lost my marriage, my family, and even my career. But I can't give up. I want to rise again, to prove in my own way, women and love, not all of my life. Next, let me bury my head in the sand and focus on business, only to forge ahead, in order to get rid of this emotional quagmire, to rediscover the meaning of life. As for Kara, let her fend for herself. I believe in karma. She'll pay for her behavior someday. I, on the other hand, will try to be a better Blake. After that agonizing confrontation, Kara and I embarked on a long road of divorce proceedings. During the day, I was busy at the office, trying to put all my energy into my work, and at night, I was meeting with my legal team late into the night to discuss the progress of the case. It was a very difficult divorce case, and Kara's team was clearly not willing to give up, trying to wear me down by dragging their feet. At the same time, I found out that someone was secretly gathering negative information about me in an attempt to discredit me. I know that this is all Kara and Victor's doing. They were using the media and public opinion to put pressure on me. I, on the other hand, could only clarify the facts and defend my honor through press releases and statements over and over again. There was no end in sight to this tug of war, and I felt physically and emotionally exhausted. But every time I wanted to give up, I remembered what Kara and Victor had done, and the anger flared up again. No, I can't just let it go. I'm going to make them pay for their betrayal and deception. So, I began to plan my revenge. First, I asked Elise to step up her efforts to investigate Victor's background. I believe that, given his behavior, there must be more secrets that he couldn't be seen. Sure enough, Elise soon found some valuable clues. As it turns out, Victor is not only a commercial spy, he is also suspected of a number of economic crimes. He utilized his position to carry out all kinds of illegal transactions in the business world and amassed a lot of money. What's more, he was involved in a transnational money laundering gang, involving hundreds of millions of dollars. These discoveries undoubtedly gave me great leverage. I immediately submitted the relevant evidence to the police and the public prosecutor's office and pressurized them to open an investigation as soon as possible. I also contacted some influential media through my network of contacts, ready to expose Victor's criminal facts at an appropriate time. I know that Victor can't be the only one to fight this battle, and Kara, as his accomplice, must be punished as well. So I started poking around among Kara's friends and coworkers. I soon found out some interesting things. It turns out that Kara is not as respected as she seems in the psychology community. She plagiarized others' research and even tampered with experimental data in order to publish papers and apply for projects. She also used her authority to take revenge on unwilling subordinates and students. These scandals were enough to destroy Kara's reputation in the academic world. I'm pumped up and I can't wait to get this dirt out in the open. But I can't rush it. I have to wait for the right moment. A time when Kara and Victor would be humiliated in front of everyone. Soon, the opportunity presented itself. My attorney told me that the court was about to hold a final hearing in our divorce case. It would be the perfect time for me to beat Kara in court once and for all. So I prepared dozens of pages of testimony detailing Kara and Victor's crimes. From extramarital affairs to commercial espionage, from academic fraud to money laundering, I turned all their black information upside down. At the hearing, in front of Kara and her attorney, I spoke with a strong voice. I exposed her face to the court and made her look bad. At the same time, I presented Victor with hard evidence of his crimes and made him look bad in front of the law. At that moment, I saw Kara's face turn pale and she was trembling. She knew that all her pretenses had been torn to shreds by me and that she could no longer fool me. The judge announced in court that my petition for divorce was granted. At the same time, in view of Kara's misbehavior, not only did she not get half of the property, but she also had to pay me a huge amount of moral damages. Victor, on the other hand, was arrested and handcuffed in court. He faces the prospect of spending the rest of his life behind bars. As I watched them fall from the clouds into the mire, I felt a secret pleasure in my heart. I told myself that it was their own fault, that they deserved it. The pleasure of jealousy and revenge was so sweet. But soon, I tasted the bitter fruit. I realized that in the process of revenge, I gradually lost my direction. I became more and more unlike myself, no longer believe in love, no longer believe in marriage. I became indifferent, and suspicious of people around me, and even lost my temper from time to time. I also started to have problems with my health. I suffered from insomnia, headaches, palpitations, and shortness of breath. My coworkers at work said that I had emaciated a lot, and my temper was getting more and more eccentric. I realized that the pleasure of revenge was only temporary. The damage it brought me was far greater than I thought. I began to reflect on what I had done, on the meaning of this revenge. I remembered my father's teachings and my mother's gentle face. I asked myself how they would feel if they saw me today. At that moment, I finally realized that I was wrong. I shouldn't have been blinded by hatred, shouldn't have been kidnapped by resentment. True liberation is not to take revenge on others, but to let go of oneself. I decided to let go of the past, let go of the past, let go of my heart. I want to start over and be the sunny, confident Blake again. Of course, it's not easy. Letting go does not mean forgetting, and it does not mean forgiving. I will remember this experience, but I will not let it dictate my emotions and decisions. Life goes on, and the company is still in business. I want to face the possibilities of the future with a more positive mindset. So, I sold that house full of sad memories and moved to a new neighborhood. I remodeled my office and got a new group of team members. I took up meditation and yoga in an attempt to find inner peace. Slowly, I felt myself getting better every day. The smile came back to my face, and I started to enjoy the little things in life. I know I still have a long way to go, but no matter how many thorns there are in front of me, I will be strong and go on. Because I believe that only after experiencing darkness can I cherish light. This revenge has cost me dearly, but it has also taught me a valuable lesson in life. It made me realize that the meaning of life is not how much you get, but what you experience and how much you grow. Just when I thought the dust had settled, an unexpected discovery threw me back into the whirlwind of events. That day, I was organizing the company's financial statements when I accidentally discovered some suspicious flow of funds. Several large sums of money had been transferred to an offshore account owned by Victor. My heart clenched. Wasn't Victor already in jail? How could he still be behind the company's money? Is there someone else working with him? I immediately told Elise about this discovery, but to my surprise, Elise didn't show too much surprise. She told me that she had been secretly investigating Victor's background and found out that there was a bigger backer behind him. Elise said that Victor was probably just a pawn, and that the real culprit was an overseas criminal syndicate. This group has long been engaged in money laundering, smuggling, and other illegal activities. In the business and political circles have a wide network of relations. Victor is their local agent. The news came as a bolt from the blue, and I felt dizzy. It turned out that we had been fighting a huge criminal empire, and what we had seen was just the tip of the iceberg. I realized that my personal strength alone was not enough. I had to seek outside help, and more people had to know the truth. So I contacted several trusted media friends and told them about the evidence and clues I had. I hope to use the power of the press to draw the attention and shock of society, so as to put pressure on the police and the judiciary to investigate this transnational crime syndicate thoroughly. At the same time, I submitted a detailed report to the national security authorities. In my opinion, this case involves national security and social stability, and it is necessary for the state to intervene. The next few days were thrilling. One after another, the media broke out fierce news, exposing all kinds of evil deeds of this crime syndicate. The police also launched a large-scale arrest operation and took down several important members of the syndicate in China. What shocked me most was what happened to Kara. As it turned out, she was part of the group and was responsible for providing them with theoretical support and policy defense in the academic world. She was sentenced to several years in prison after the group's demise. Watching this dramatic scene, I have mixed feelings. On the one hand, I was glad that justice was done. On the other hand, I was saddened by the degradation of human nature. Kara used to be my favorite woman. We had so many beautiful memories, but in the end, she still chose the abyss of degradation. This case has triggered widespread concern and discussion in the whole society. People began to reflect on how human nature has been alienated and distorted step by step, driven by monetary interests. People have also begun to call for strengthening supervision, purifying the business environment, and preventing the recurrence of similar tragedies. And I, too, have grown up in this storm. I began to realize that, as a businessman, I not only want to pursue profits, but also to adhere to the moral bottom line. I want to use my actions to influence more people, to promote the progress of the whole industry. As a result, I have launched a series of compliance training and ethics education within the company in an attempt to prevent illegal and disorderly behavior at the source. I also reached a consensus with other companies in the same industry to sign an integrity pact, pledging to abide by business ethics and resist unfair competition. Gradually, the company's image and reputation have been greatly improved. We have not only won the trust of our customers and partners, but also the respect of all walks of life. I feel very proud because I know that I am practicing my values and ideals with practical actions. Of course, changing an industry, or even a whole society, is not a quick fix. It requires everyone's efforts and perseverance. But I believe that as long as we all start from ourselves, from the small things around us, one day, we will be able to create a fairer, more justice, integrity, and a better world. Looking back on this tumultuous experience, I am often overwhelmed with emotion. This conspiracy not only revealed the complexity of human nature and the viciousness of the world, but also tested my courage, wisdom, and integrity. Thankfully, I was not consumed by the darkness and did not lose myself. On the contrary, in this great test, I harvested growth, harvested metamorphosis. I learned how to move forward in the midst of hardship, how to persevere in the face of adversity. As the case continued to ferment, the truth also surfaced a little. Under the unremitting efforts of the police and the media, the full picture of the entire crime syndicate was finally presented to the world. It turns out that the tentacles of this group have been extended to various fields such as politics, business, and academia. They use the power and resources in their hands to manipulate the market, monopolize the industry, and even intervene in policy making. Victor and Kara are just their agents and accomplices in various fields. What is even more shocking is that the real head of the syndicate is a highly placed politician. This politician, ostensibly a dignified person known for his integrity and honesty, is privately the syndicate's mastermind, providing them with an umbrella of protection and political patronage. When the truth came out, the whole community was in a state of shock and anger. It was hard to believe that such a huge criminal empire had existed under our noses for so many years. It was even more difficult to accept that those elite people whom we trusted and admired were the accomplices and conspirators of this empire. Public opinion was in an uproar. Under intense social pressure, the politicians involved were forced to resign and were investigated. The police also stepped up their efforts to root out the syndicate and bring it to justice. My company and I have also played an important role in this powerful anti-corruption storm. We have not only provided the police with a large amount of evidence and clues, but also set a benchmark and example for the industry through internal compliance and reorganization. I have also spoken out many times, calling for greater self-discipline in the industry and social progress. Gradually, my reputation in the industry and among the public grew. People praised me as a model of the times who dares to take responsibility and fight bravely, and a clear stream in the business world. My experience has also become a vivid teaching material for anti-corruption and integrity promotion, inspiring more people to defend justice and resist the evils. Looking at my own efforts to be recognized by the community, my heart is full of pride and gratification. I have strengthened my own belief. Only honesty and integrity, ethical business, is the road to enterprise development. I want to lead my team to continue to move forward on this road. Of course, behind all this, there are also my personal feelings. Through this fiasco, I saw Kara's true colors, and I also saw the real pursuit of my heart. I realized that true love should not be built on lies and deception, but on honesty and trust. So when Kara was arrested and sent to jail, I wasn't overly sad or attached. Instead, I felt a sense of relief. I knew that I needed to say goodbye to the past and start a new chapter in my life. The divorce was finalized very quickly. Looking at the judgment in my hand, I had a lot of feelings. This piece of paper marked the end of a bitter experience in my life and the beginning of a new life for me. After Kara's betrayal and a series of legal battles, I was on the verge of a physical and mental breakdown. I started to drink heavily and began to live a life of dissipation. I felt like a walking corpse, losing the meaning of life. It all came to a head on a rainy night. I was so drunk in a bar that day that I accidentally fell on my way home and passed out on the street. When I woke up, I found myself lying in a hospital bed. The doctor told me that I had been brought here by a girl named Lily, a nurse who happened to be passing by and saw me fainting, so she called an ambulance. I was grateful to Lily, who not only saved my life, but also came to visit me in the hospital afterward. We talked and became friends. Lily is an optimistic and positive girl. She always talks about life in a lighthearted tone and encourages me to pick myself up. She says that every time we fall down in life, we learn how to get up better. With Lily's encouragement, I made up my mind to start over. I quit drinking and went back to work. I began to try to forgive Kara and let go of my past hurts. I realized that forgiveness doesn't mean I have to forget what happened in the past, but rather choose to stop being bound by hatred and resentment, and choose to move forward and embrace a new life. Gradually, I emerged from the trauma. I became stronger and more open-minded than before. I realized that the sufferings and tortures in life are in fact a kind of training given to us by God, so that we can learn to grow up in trials and tribulations. I took a fresh look at my life and decided that I wanted to have a more positive outlook on life. I joined a charitable organization and started to help people who were similar to me. I hope to use my experience to inspire and motivate more people. At the same time, my relationship with Lily is also quietly heating up. Lily's kind heart and optimistic character deeply attracted me. I realized that she was the true love I had been searching for. On a moonlit night, I confessed my love to Lily, who smiled and fell into my arms, knowing that this was the best gift God had ever given me. Since then, Lily and I have been working hand in hand to create a better future for us. We have devoted ourselves to charities and helping more people together. We support each other, encourage each other, and our love has grown stronger through such help and dedication. When I look back, I have a lot of feelings. Thanks to the ups and downs of my life, I have realized the true meaning of life. Thanks to Kara, I have seen what is false. Thanks to Lily, I have embraced hope and love again. I understand that the road of life is never smooth, but as long as we carry hope and touch the world with love, there is no difficulty that cannot be overcome. This is my story. I believe that everyone who goes into despair can eventually be transformed into a butterfly, as long as we never give up. May all those who have experienced suffering be like me, reborn in desperate circumstances and sublimated through trials and tribulations. Let us go forward hand in hand to create a new world full of love and hope. Thank you for taking the time to listen to today's story. If you enjoyed it, please like and subscribe if you haven't already. If you have a story to share about your own or someone else's experience, please feel free to contact me. Take care.